The year is 1944. Europe is a continent suffocated by the shadow of the Third Reich. For nearly 5 years, a brutal war has raged, a conflict that has consumed nations and claimed millions of lives. From the frozen steppes of Russia to the scorching sands of North Africa, the forces of the Axis and the Allies have been locked in a titanic struggle. But now, the tide is beginning to turn. In the east, the Soviet Red Army is relentlessly pushing westward, grinding down the German war machine. In Italy, Allied forces are inching their way up the peninsula. But to truly break the back of Nazi Germany, a new front must be opened. A decisive, massive blow must be struck in the heart of occupied Western Europe. For months, the largest invasion force in human history has been gathering in southern England, a staggering assembly of men and material, kept under a blanket of the utmost secrecy. This immense undertaking is codenamed Operation Overlord. Its objective: to breach Fortress Europe, Hitler's vaunted Atlantic Wall, a formidable line of coastal defenses stretching from Norway to the Spanish border. The success or failure of this operation will not only determine the course of the war, but the very future of the free world. The Supreme Commander, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower, holds the weight of this monumental decision. The weather is poor. The risks are immeasurable. A single mistake, a moment of hesitation, could lead to a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. By the time for waiting is over, the order is given. The Great Crusade is set to begin. The target is Normandy, a 50-mile stretch of coastline in northwestern France. The choice is a strategic gamble. It's further from England than the Pas-de-Calais, the most obvious and heavily defended crossing point. Deception is key. An elaborate campaign of misinformation, Operation Fortitude, has led the Germans to believe the main attack will come elsewhere, tying down crucial panzer divisions. As darkness falls on June 5th, the first wave of the invasion begins. Over 24,000 American, British, and Canadian airborne troops are dropped behind enemy lines. Their mission: to seize key bridges, disrupt communications, and sow chaos, paving the way for the main seaborne assault. For these paratroopers, descending into the blackness, the battle begins alone, scattered and surrounded in the hostile Norman countryside. As dawn breaks on June 6th, the world holds its breath. An armada of nearly 7,000 vessels, destroyers, cruisers, and countless landing craft emerges from the morning mist, stretching as far as the eye can see. The naval bombardment commences, a terrifying, earth-shattering roar as thousands of shells rain down upon the German fortifications. The Atlantic Wall, a network of concrete bunkers, machine gun nests, and artillery emplacements, is about to face its ultimate test. Aboard the tightly packed landing craft, tens of thousands of young soldiers, many of whom have never seen combat, approach the shore. They are seasick, cold, and gripped by a mixture of adrenaline and sheer terror. They check their weapons one last time, say a silent prayer, and wait for the ramps to drop. This is it. D-Day has arrived. The invasion is spread across 5 designated beaches. The British and Canadians land at Gold, Juno, and Sword. The Americans are assigned Utah and Omaha. At Utah, the landings go relatively well. Strong currents push the troops south of their intended target, to a less defended section of the beach. The airborne divisions have done their job, and casualties are comparatively light. The soldiers push inland, linking up with the paratroopers and establishing a solid beachhead. The initial phase of the plan, at least here, is working. But just a few miles down the coast, a different, more horrific story is unfolding. A story of chaos, courage, and unimaginable sacrifice. Omaha Beach. The name will forever be etched in history as a synonym for hell on earth. Here, the pre-invasion bombardment has been tragically ineffective, leaving the German defenses largely intact. The veteran German 352nd Infantry Division, which the Allies believed was not present, is dug in on the high bluffs overlooking the shore. As the ramps of the first landing craft drop, the American soldiers are met with a murderous wall of machine gun and artillery fire. The beach becomes a killing field. Men are cut down in the water, on the wet sand, and as they struggle for the minimal cover of the seawall, landing craft are hit and explode. Tanks designed to support the infantry sink in the deep water. The first wave is decimated. For a terrifying moment, it seems the entire landing at Omaha might fail. Amid the carnage and chaos, leadership emerges. Officers and NCOs rally the stunned and terrified survivors. Small groups of men, driven by desperation and raw courage, began to find weaknesses in the German defenses. They used Bangalore torpedoes to blast holes in the barbed wire and start the slow, bloody crawl up the bluffs. Inch by agonizing inch, they fight their way up the steep inclines, clearing out bunkers and machine gun nests with grenades and rifles. It is a brutal, close-quarters fight. The water's edge runs red. By the end of the day, a tenuous foothold has been secured, but the cost is staggering. Omaha Beach accounts for more casualties than all the other beaches combined. It is a testament to the resilience and sheer determination of the common soldier in the face of impossible odds. While the Americans fight for their lives at Omaha, the British and Canadians are locked in their own fierce battles at Gold, Juno, and Sword. At Juno Beach, the Canadian forces face rough seas and formidable German resistance. The first wave of infantry suffers heavy losses, but they press on with grim determination, pushing further inland on D-Day than any other Allied unit. At Sword Beach, British commandos, led by the sound of bagpipes, fight their way to link up with airborne troops at Pegasus Bridge, a critical objective captured in a daring glider assault hours earlier. On Gold Beach, British forces overcome stiff opposition and begin their advance towards the strategic town of Bio. By the end of this long, bloody day, against all odds, the Allies have clawed their way ashore. The cost of D-Day is immense. Over 10,000 Allied casualties, with more than 4,000 confirmed dead. The beaches are littered with the debris of war and the bodies of the fallen. But the foothold is secure. The Atlantic Wall, Hitler's supposedly impenetrable fortress, has been breached. This is not the end of the war, not even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning. The battle for Normandy will rage for another 2 months, a brutal campaign of attrition through the hedgerow country. But the path to liberation has been opened. From the bloody sands of these 5 beaches, the long, arduous road to Berlin begins. The Normandy landings were a turning point in world history, an operation of such scale and complexity that it defies imagination. It was a triumph of planning, logistics, deception, and above all, human courage. It was the collective effort of millions, from the generals drawing the plans to the factory workers building the ships, to the young soldiers who stormed the beaches. The legacy of D-Day is carried in the freedom enjoyed by generations since. It serves as a solemn reminder that peace is not guaranteed, that it must sometimes be fought for, and that the price of liberty can be incredibly high. We remember those who fought, those who fell, and those who carried the memories of that day for the rest of their lives. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary meaningful, please like and subscribe for more stories from history.